Well, first, we remind you that these conferences belong to the phase B of this self-knowledge course and that it is highly recommended to have first watched phase A, since in this phase we will be delving deeper into topics we have already studied in phase A. Therefore, it is better to have watched those conferences for better understanding. This conference is very important as it shows us the significance of wisely using our energy and balancing our centers so that we may begin our process of inner creation. If we don't work on balancing our centers, we will not be able to ignite the sacred fire nor initiate the process of regenerating the physical and vital body, which is necessary before continuing with the creation of the astral, mental, and causal bodies. Well, let us remember that our physical body possesses 7 energetic centers. These centers are responsible for receiving energy so that we may perform certain functions. For example, we have the sexual center, which works with sexual energy, and its function is to create. The instinctive center, which is the tetra sustainer, and among its functions there is receiving energy from the macrocosm and supplying energy to the other centers while we sleep. We have the emotional center, which works with emotional energy and allows us to feel. Also, we have the mental center, which works with mental energy and allows us to think. And also the motor center, which works with motor energy and allows us to move and speak. As you can see, each center works with a specific type of energy that is produced by the instinctive center. Specific energy for each center, remember that. Every day, when we go to sleep, the instinctive center takes care of this work. And when we wake up, we are ready and recharged with energy for a new day. However, as we studied in conference number 4 of phase A, these centers are completely unbalanced in us due to the misuse of energy, allowing defects to manifest through our desires, emotions, and actions. Every time these defects manifest, they consume the energy of the center through which they manifested, depleting the energy that had been supplied to that center. For example, as soon as we wake up, we start thinking, remembering, projecting into the future, or fantasizing. All of this gradually drains the energy of the mental center. We begin to feel all kinds of negative emotions such as anger, annoyance, fear, boredom, and there we are wasting the energy of the emotional center. We constantly talk about superficial and insignificant things, thereby consuming the energy of our motor center. What happens then when these centers run out of energy, sometimes even before the day is over? They go and steal energy from the sexual center, which receives the most energy because its function is to create. Here, 2 things occur. First, the centers begin to function with energy that is not suited for them, in this case, sexual energy. And second, the sexual center, having been looted, is left without the necessary energy to create. Something else to consider is that later, when we attempt to practice suprasex, the instinctive center is forced to take remnants of contaminated energy from the other centers and send it to the sexual center so that it can function. However, under these circumstances, that contaminated energy cannot be transmuted, and we will ultimately experience a sexual fall or a nocturnal emission, making things even worse. For each center to work with its own hydrogen or energy, we must begin psychological work, that is, death in progress, which is very important for this. Because as long as the sexual center is working with heavier hydrogens or energies, it cannot have the energy needed to create the solar bodies. One may be practicing sexual magic, but if the centers have not been balanced, if they are working with other hydrogens or heavier energies than what corresponds to each, time is unfortunately being wasted because it is impossible for the Kundalini or sacred fire to awaken with all the centers so unbalanced. So, death in progress, the psychic work, is very important to gradually balance each center with its own hydrogen. As long as there is no balance in the centers, we are lost and we cannot achieve anything. Even if we believe we are progressing, we are unfortunately wasting time. That's the truth. All of this is a foundation to begin a real and serious work, because as long as the sexual center and the other lower centers function poorly due to the crossing of hydrogens or energies, we are not going to start the process of creation, because the base of this work of creation is the energy. So the work of balance our centers consists of applying the four rectitudes, which we could also call death in progress. At the core of these four rectitudes, we find self-observation, which is directing our attention inward to what is happening in our inner world, our thoughts, our feelings, and desires, to discover and expose the defects that want to manifest through our mind, emotions, and actions. By doing this, only consciousness will manifest through our human machine, and we will be able to save energy from these centers, as well as release energy each time a defect is eliminated, because also remember that defects have energy trapped within them. We must observe the thoughts that come to our mind and ask ourselves if they correspond to our consciousness, if they come from our being, or if they come from an ego. If we come to the understanding that it is an ego, we ask our Divine Mother to eliminate that defect. We must also observe our emotions to identify those negative emotions that seek to consume our emotional energy. Throughout the day, we experience all kinds of negative emotions, such as anger, fear, displeasure, lustful emotions, and the pleasure that the egos feel when we feed them. Each of these emotions must be observed, and we must ask if they come from consciousness or from an ego. If we discover that they come from an ego, then we ask our Divine Mother to eliminate them. We will observe our desires to act and ask ourselves if what we wish to do is truly part of our being, or if it is something genuinely useful. We will realize that we do many things we shouldn't, things that bring us no benefit and that waste our motor energy doing unnecessary activities. Likewise, we must observe unnecessary speech. One of the things we enjoy the most is talking. All that unnecessary and trivial chatter does nothing but waste our motor energy. We engage in meaningless, superficial conversations, gossip, jokes, slander, lies, and things of that sort. Each day, we will be able to see more details, and therefore we will save more energy, and gradually our centers will balance until there comes the day that at night the centers will still have energy reserves. Well, this is the process where our internal waters, our energy will be purified. When we speak of our internal waters or energy, we are also referring to that alchemical element known as the mercury of the alchemists. We have heard of alchemy, and how in medieval times it sought to transform lead into gold. What we don't know is that alchemy concealed the secret through which we could transform from intellectual animals into men, then into supermen, and finally into absolute men, solar men, transitioning from lead to gold. Several elements formed part of this process, and these elements have significance in our inner work. There was mention of a mixture of sulfur, mercury, and salt to create the philosopher's stone. Internally, sulfur symbolizes the energy liberated through psychological death. Salt represents sacrifice for humanity and is what coagulates the elements. And mercury is the energy given to us daily for creation. Therefore, we must work with these three factors in a balanced manner so that we can transform and purify our energy. We must take this energy, which is in a black and putrid state, and convert it into red mercury so that we can begin the process of creation. Well, as we can see in this image, this is how our energy looks when we first arrive at this knowledge. Black, completely black and contaminated. This happens for the same reason we explained earlier. The centers are unbalanced because we constantly allow the egos to manifest, consuming the energy of these centers, and then there is a theft from the sexual center, causing the other centers to continue working with energy that is not their own. However, when we begin to apply the four rectitudes and start to notice details throughout the day, energy conservation begins and our waters become white or transparent. This is a process that we must verify in the internal worlds. For example, in an astral experience, at first, we will be shown putrid and foul-smelling waters. However, when we begin the process of death in progress, we will be shown that our waters are white or transparent. This is something that will be revealed to us, but we can also take the initiative to investigate how our waters are or how the transformation process of our waters is progressing. This work of death in progress must be intensified if we want to change our waters from white to yellow. We must be able to observe and eliminate more details of the defects throughout the day. The more small details we identify, the more energy we save. It is good to know that single individuals who only practice the factors of psychological death and sacrifice for humanity can reach this point. However, if they don't have a partner, they cannot move on the next stage, which is red Mercury. A person without a partner who brings their waters to this point generates the merits for an internal arrangement to be made so that they are given a partner who will help them in the work of a spiritual birth. When the moment comes when the centers are balanced and the energy of the sexual center is not touched in a day, the waters turn red and the person is ready to ignite the fire. That person must then pass a proof of fire with their partner, with their couple, especially a proof of anger, in which they must not fall into identification. If they become identified with anger, they start to argue, they start a fight with the couple, they fail the proof. And since anger consumes a great deal of emotional energy, the centers will become unbalanced again. Depending on the magnitude of the anger, they could even revert to black Mercury and lose all the work they have done so far. After passing the proof of anger, That same day, they must practice sexual magic so that the energy transforms into what we will call hydrogen Si-12, allowing the ignition of the fire. Igniting the sacred fire means becoming an initiate of the White Lodge, or awakening the Kundalini serpent, the serpent of the magical powers. This is a very important event because from that point onward, the process of the regeneration and creation of the internal bodies begins, not before. This is why we may spend years in this knowledge, believing ourselves to be very advanced, when in reality we have not even begun to work the work of creation. Unfortunately, we would just be wasting time, okay? Well, to finish, we need to reflect about this. We really must detach ourselves from all the toys that nature has given us. That is everything we see in this world, on this planet, because they are toys that nature gives us because it is not interested in, nor does it benefit it for us to attain liberation. So it gives us all these entertainments, just like how toys are bought for a child to keep them happy and distracted. It's exactly the same. And we, like fools, entertain ourselves with all these toys and forget about the work on ourselves. All these toys keep us fascinated and identified with worldly things, with personality, and with the defects. Money, pleasures, material things to which we dedicate so much time and for which we make so much effort, all of that translates into energy given away to our defects. If we valued our energy, our freedom, and our spiritual progress, we would fight to detach ourselves from all these things that lead us to waste our energy uselessly and that are not at all transcendental. Every time a defect tries to manifest, we should be aware of what it is at stake, which is our energy, and we should fight to protect our energy because our inner work toward the self-realization of our intimate being, which is the transcendental objective we came here to fulfill, depends on it. And well, this has been today's lecture. So I invite you to the next Saturday's lecture, where we will be learning about the chakras and the churches in detail. For now, I bid you farewell. Thank you very much to all of you for being here, and see you later. Before, let me see if we have any question. Well, no, we don't have any question. So have a nice day. Bye bye.